Hey, how's it going, guys? So, as you saw by the title, I'm here to talk about the group called Collective Shell. Like, you've probably already heard about them, but they've been coming up a lot recently, especially in the gaming scene, and there's many reasons for that. So, I'm just going to give you a quick breakdown of what the group is and what's some of the problematic things they've done is. So, as you can see from their site, Collective Shell is a grassroots campaign movement against the objectification of women and the sexualization of girls. Now, Collective Shout is for anyone concerned about the increasing pornification of culture and the way its messages have become entrenched in mainstream society. Now, when you read that, you might think that's not very problematic, but most of the problems come from how they enforce this and whether they have a right to enforce it. So one of the oldest things I can see they've done is they got Target and Kmart to remove GTA 5 from their shelves. So as they said here, Target Australia will stop selling the already video game GTA 5 following feedback from customers and the game's depiction of violence against women. Now, this is something that I find that's extremely subjective. Most of you guys have probably played GTA 5 before, and you wouldn't really say it has a problem against specifically with violence against women, right? And it's not something that a group like Collective Shout, with maybe, I believe they have like 5 or 6 board members, can decide. And obviously, as you can imagine, these are mostly feminist groups, and if I didn't say it already, they are based in Australia. So this was in Australia. So as it says here, we've also had customer feedback and support for us selling the game. So many people were actually saying they want them to sell the game, right? So that was the first case where they tried to censor what people in that area could buy. So if you went to Target there, you wouldn't be able to buy GTA 5 as a disc for you to play. So this is fairly recent. So Valve recently removed a number of adult games from Steam, and they updated their guideline on what is allowed on Steam. Now, shortly after this, this Australian group called Collective Shout claimed responsibility. Collective Shout has cited payment processors such as PayPal, MasterCard, and Visa as primary targets in their campaign. Which pretty much means, so as you guys know, PayPal, MasterCard, and Visa have pretty much a monopoly on every single site you go on where anything you want to pay with online, or even in person to be honest, is through them. So technically speaking, they can decide what they want on specific sites, which is what the main problem is right now. Now as you can see here, open letter to payment processors profiting from this stuff, I'm not going to say it, abuse games on Steam. Now, they have sent letters to PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, PaySafe Limited, Discover, and the Japanese Credit Bureau. Now, what happens is these guys get these letters, and then they go to platforms like Steam, and they say, hey, I don't want this on the site. I don't want this on the site. So it's essentially through the payment processors, Collective Shout is censoring what we can buy on Steam. And just today, or last night, they got to HIO, but first I'm going to touch on Steam. So as you can see here, Steam users rally behind anti-censorship petition. So as of July 16, Steam's new guidelines state that game publishers should avoid releasing titles that may violate the terms and conditions of its payment processors. In other words, the storefront is asking creators to not only follow the platform's rules, but also submit to potential oversight from companies like MasterCard, Visa, and PayPal. Now, I don't know about you, but this is something that's absolutely unacceptable. There should never become a scenario where the methods of payment that we're forced to use because there's nothing else that exists is what controls what games you can buy. So if I go on Steam right now, I should be able to buy whatever I want without MasterCard, Visa, or PayPal having a say in it, and that's not really something that's up to them. So Collective Shout is basically using these guys to rally against people like everyday people like you and me who want to buy whatever the game they want. So some of the early games they took out of Steam were not safe for work games like incest games and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna lie, that's not a huge loss. But the problem comes when, where does it stop, right? So there's not really a place for things like this to stop. So as you can see, shortly after, Steam removed several adult-only games. And the Collective Shout co-founder Melinda Tankard Reist addressed the incident on Twitter. She claimed that the censorship followed the organization's accusations that Steam's payment processes we're profiting from violent sexual content. And here is the problem, right? Who decides what violent sexual content is, and who decides how high, like who decides to what degree it is to take it off, right? So my personal belief is that the platform you're posting on should get to decide. The payment process don't have anything to do with it, and movements like Collective Shout should absolutely have nothing to do with it, and that's just as simple as that, right? So as long as you're following by the guidelines set by that specific platform you're posting on, you're not breaking whatever law in whatever country, there should be no problem. And one thing I find with movements like this, like Collective Shout, is it's about control and putting their ideologies on you, right? So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say they are not people who play games, but yet they want to censor what games we can play, and I don't think that's right. We should have the ability to play any game we want, as long as and we should be able to buy any game we want on Steam, as long as it's abiding by Steam's terms of service and US law or Canadian law or whatever law in whatever country you're playing it in, right? So something that happened just recently was the itch.io. So itch.io took down a lot of games that were not safe for work content. So if you don't know what itch.io is, it's basically a indie game development platform, right? So if you want to publish a game on Steam, obviously there's a lot of loops you got to go through, you got to pay, but itch.io is a great site for many small indie game developers. And me personally, I recently got into game dev. I make a few games. Obviously, I haven't posted anything on here yet, but it's a great platform. People who make really small games can just post it on here. You can get tons of game assets that people post on free. You can even put paid stuff on here, and that's where the problem comes in. So, as you can see here, recently we came under scrutiny from our payment processors regarding the nature of some of the content hosted on itch.io. This is mainly due to a game titled No Mercy, which was temporarily available on itch.io before being banned back in April. The organization Collective Shout launched a campaign against Steam and itch.io, directing concerns to our payment processors about the nature of certain content found on both platforms. Our ability to process payments is critical for every creator on our platform to ensure that we can continue to operate and provide a marketplace for all developers. We must prioritize our relationship with our payment partners and take immediate steps towards compliance. So there's more on here, but it's pretty clear from itch.io's statement that it isn't something that's really up to them. If a platform like Steam is going to have to abide by something to problems with their payment processors, a much smaller company like itch.io isn't really going to have an option, right? So basically what they're saying here is, if they want to continue to operate and want their devs and stuff like that to continue to be able to post content on here, maybe make some money, maybe make connections, whatever, they need to be able to accept payment. And this isn't really something that's up to them. So this all falls back on payment processors and Collective Shout, who seriously believe that they have a right to censor what we see. So as you can see here, Collective Shout launched a campaign against Steam and itch.io, directing concerns to their payment processors about the nature of certain content. So Collective Shout doesn't have a right to censor what we see. So itch.io especially is a site where things are a lot more free than Steam. So you can go and find lots of free small games, really small games, maybe someone made in a few days that they just want to share with someone, right? And sure, some of that stuff will be not safe for work content, but it doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't break the rules set by itch.io and it isn't physically harming someone, that's fine. So one of the major things that Collective Shout has done, or has tried to do, is take down certain things on sites like Pornhub and other adult content sites, and that specifically exploit women, which I think it's a great thing. But Not Safe for Work Games doesn't do that to anybody. Not Safe for Work Games doesn't harm anybody, right? So it's censoring the internet on multiple huge platforms like itch.io and Steam based on their own criteria, and that's something I really don't agree with. So this is where the main problem lies. The internet is a place where you can access things pretty much whatever you want. And obviously there should be some regulation, but the regulation isn't up to an organization like Collective Shout, and isn't up to our payment processors, especially because the amount of power they hold over us. Now, I don't know about everything this movement has done. Obviously, I'm just mainly focusing on the problems related to itch.io and Steam, but I did see a Reddit post where people claim that they're not only censoring games, but they're also massive hypocrites. They have been found to often bully lots of people into making changes, and again, I'll say this again, most of the bullying that they're doing is based on what they believe to be right. And like I said earlier, it's a few people on the board. Obviously they have lots of supporters, but almost all of this is based on what they believe to be true, and that's not really right. If I were to go around going to stores and stuff and they were selling something that I didn't agree with, it doesn't mean I need to get what I want, right? So other than banning GTA 5, trying to get GTA 5 banned from Kmart and Target, they were also harassing a local bakery in Australia that was selling a t-shirt that says "We got the best buns in town," and they actually made them take down the shirt. They also got an article removed from Vice that was covering their practices and the things that they do. And the main reason they're real hypocrites is they actively supported Cuties, which was something that came out on Netflix, I'm pretty sure. I actually didn't see it, but I did see certain videos on it. It was not a good movie. It got a lot of hate, and rightfully so. It promoted a lot of things with children that were not okay, but they actually support this. And you can actually look this up, and you should be able to find it. But so as Reddit post says, they pride themselves on defending sexualization of women and girls, and then 5 years ago they defended a show that exactly did this to kids. They are not only on the gaming industry. Obviously I'm mainly just touching on the gaming industry because that's what relates to me, but they do a lot of bad things. Again, they could have done some good things, I'm not 100% sure, but it's not just gaming. They are going after everything and not pushing their ideologies the right way, where they're pretty much bullying people into doing what they want, especially through payment processes, which hold a lot of power over pretty much the entire world at the same time. Now, there are a few petitions that I saw, and specifically I found out about this from a game dev Discord I was in, where someone posted about this problem, and I actually didn't realize the Collective Shout stuff came all the way to itch.io. I thought it was just stopping at Steam. And the funny thing is, apparently they have gone private on Twitter, or on X, after all the backlash, which I think is absolutely hilarious. But I will put a few petitions down below. Make sure you go sign it. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this topic and just share what I thought about it. But basically, Collective Shout shouldn't be allowed to censor what we can buy or see on the internet. Right? If I want to buy some not safe for work content, or even view some not safe for work content on the internet through Steam or whatever, as long as it's not violating the platform's rules, there should be no problem. And somewhere, like I live in Canada, a movement from Australia shouldn't be able to threaten itch.io through payment processors, and that's another problem. The payment processors have a complete monopoly, so platforms even as big as Steam don't have an out or an option to fight back against them, right? Otherwise, they won't be able to make any money and people won't be able to buy anything. But yeah, I just want to touch on that. I'll be sure to put the petitions down below. Make sure you go sign it. And that's it. Later.